Hey there, folks. Tim Slade here from the eLearning Designers Academy. I gotta be honest with a lot of you out there. The truth is, I couldn't code myself out of a paper bag if my life depended on it. I know. I have to admit this because if it was a life or death situation and I got put in this paper bag and it was either die in the paper bag or code yourself out of it, I would just die in that paper bag. And frankly, I have no interest in learning code. I've never really had much of an interest in learning code, and that's okay, because luckily for me and for those of you out there like me, most of the work that we do on a day-to-day basis as instructional designers and e-learning developers doesn't really require any coding know-how, and that's never really stopped me. But of course, if you've been paying attention to the world of AI and all of that stuff, a new term has started to emerge from the ether, and that term is vibe coding. And you know what? When I first heard this term vibe coding, the first thing that popped in my mind was like, is this like a Netflix and chill sort of thing? Because it kind of sounds like it, but it's not, sadly. Vibe coding is when you use AI to generate code from natural language prompts. And so let's say you wanted to build a website or an app or an online tool. Instead of learning and writing the code to do it all, you could just go, hey, AI, I want to build an app that does this, that, or the other thing. And the AI tool will literally write the code and design the interface. And just like that, it will build something that you can start using right away. It's crazy. I mean, it sounds far-fetched, but it's really not. And you know what? In fact, what really got me turned on to this idea of what's possible with vibe coding was a video I saw from fellow practitioner and non-guru Jeff Batt, who demoed how to use a tool called Lovable to create various apps. He shows how to create a task management app and a financial tracking app and a whole bunch of other really cool things. And so make sure to check out his video with the link up here or down in the description. But you know what? It got me thinking that if Jeff can vibe code a task management app or a financial tracking app, then what's stopping me from vibe coding an interactive learning experience? And so that's what we're going to take a look at today. How easy it is to use a tool like Lovable to vibe code some e-learning. So let's dive or vibe right into it. All right, so here we are inside of the Lovable website and vibe coding tool. Now, if you've ever used a prompt-based AI tool, this will look pretty familiar to you. We have a little chat window here where I can start typing and telling it whatever it is that I want to build. Now, I will tell you right off the bat here, at first when I started playing with this, I was a little intimidated. I kept thinking to myself, like, how do I prompt it to create an app or an interaction or an interface? Do I tell it what colors I want and what buttons I want? Do I have to give it the content? I really wasn't sure. And so I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to create the simplest thing I can imagine. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to have it create a tabbed interaction explaining the 5 steps of the ADDIE process, right? It's contextual to this industry. It's specific. And let's see what it comes up with. Now, that's why I want to demo for you, is to show you how vague you can be and how well it still performs, right? And how much of the gaps it fills in for you using AI. Now, before we dive into this, I will say I'm using the paid version of Lovable because I've been playing with it for a few weeks, but you can actually do this completely for free. It does limit how much that you can generate within a 24-hour period, but you can actually do quite a bit within that 24 hours, all right? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and create the simplest of prompts. Okay. And I'm not a big fan of prompt engineering. I'm more into just talking like a human. So I'm going to say, hey, I'd like to create a tabbed interaction explaining the 5 steps of the ADDIE instructional design model. Each tab should reveal a description of that phase along with an associated image. Okay, let me fix my spelling here. All right, it's a pretty simple prompt. Not a whole lot of detail there, right? I gave it no content. I'm not even telling it what each step of the ADDIE model is. It's going to figure it out on its own, right? I'm not giving it any of the images or anything like that. I could attach images if I wanted to, but we're going to start really simple, and I encourage you to start really simple on your end as well. So let's go ahead and send this prompt off to Lovable. And what it's going to do is it's going to bring us to this screen here where on the left-hand side, this is where we can continue chatting with Lovable. And you can see it's thinking right here. And this is where it's going to give us the preview of whatever it creates. So it says here, I'll create a beautiful tabbed interface for the ADDIE instructional design model. This will feature professional education design with smooth transitions, engaging visuals for each phase. Let me start by setting up a rich design system. I love that. And then implementing the tabbed interface with generated images and for each ADDIE phase. So it is filling in the gaps, right? It's creating it. I didn't have to give it the images or the content. I could have if I wanted to, and we'll see an example of that here in a moment, but we're keeping it pretty simple. So let's give it a moment and see how long it takes and what it comes up with. All right, so that took about a minute and a half in total, and it gave me that little sound to let me know that it created it. So we have some information here. And here is our tabbed interaction of the ADDIE process. Now it shows the preview over here. What I can actually do is I can actually click this little button up here to open the preview in a new tab. And just like that, it's created a tabbed interaction, a fully interactive interface explaining the 5 steps of the ADDIE process. So we have the ADDIE model here, a systematic instructional design framework for creating effective learning experiences. We have our information here about the analysis step, and we have the design step, and we have some images that it's generated here. And we have these little radio icons here, which I can use to actually interact with this tabbed interaction. And I mean, that's pretty amazing. You know, it generated some images. I could go back and change the images, but just like that, it's created a tabbed interaction. I mean, it blows my mind, right? And of course, once you've created something like this in Lovable, then it gives you some information about what you can do. You can refine and customize. So we can continue chatting with Lovable. We can use chat mode to plan out more prompts before we implement those. So I can come down here and switch to chat mode so it doesn't take away my credits that I have limited for a given period of time. So I can do that to chat and brainstorm before I have it make edits, or I can sync this to GitHub and actually host this on the web. So let's say, for example, let's say we wanted to change, I don't know, the colors of this, right? Let's say we wanted, instead of this blue theme, let's say we wanted it to be, I don't know, orange, right? So I'm gonna put that in here. This looks great. Always positive reinforcement with AI, because you never know, you know. Instead of the theme, or let's say instead of the color theme as blue, can we change it to orange? Is that how you spell orange? No, it's not how you spell orange. I can't spell orange. It's okay. Orange, question mark. Let's see what it does. Okay, so it's thinking. Okay, so it says, I'll update the color theme to use a beautiful orange palette. Let me change the design system colors. All right, so while it's editing this, and it just did it. That's amazing how quickly it did that. That's crazy. I mean, once you start playing with this, you start thinking of all the different possibilities. I mean, imagine, you know, creating a little, you know, interactive branching scenario or a performance support tool, something that you could immediately deploy to your learners almost instantly here. So we can see here, it says, I've updated the color theme to use a beautiful orange palette. The colors include, and we can change these colors, of course, if we wanted to. So let me open up the preview in a new tab here. And now here's our ADDIE model. So it changed all the colors, has a pretty gradient here. It looks amazing, right? So you can imagine going back and forth on this. If I needed to add an additional tab, or I needed to change the content, upload my own images, I could come in here and just prompt that to do it, right? It's amazing, right? All right, so let's say, now that we understand the basics here, let's create a completely new interaction, right? So I'm going to go back to the dashboard here, and we're going to create something completely new. Let's say we wanted to create, I don't know, let's take it one step further. What if we wanted to create an interactive scenario-based learning on, I don't know, interviewing candidates for a job, right? We're going to go ahead and create it. Okay, I'm going to say, I'd like to create an interactive scenario-based learning experience where users will practice interviewing candidates for a job. For each interaction, the user must decide the best question. Let's do this. Must decide what questions are appropriate or inappropriate. I'd also like the user to receive a score and feedback for each question answered correctly and incorrectly. Right? Let's see what it comes up with. We're sending that off to Lovable. So we'll give it a moment here and we'll let it generate. All right, so it's thinking. So it tells me here, I will help you create an interactive interview training platform. Love that. This invokes professional learning platforms like LinkedIn Learning or corporate training tools with clean business-focused design. For this first version, I'll implement scenario-based interview simulations, multiple choice questions, appropriate versus inappropriate, real-time scoring and feedback system, progress tracking, professional, trustworthy design. That sounds amazing. So we'll give it a moment here to do that. Okay, so it's gone ahead and created it. Got my little dingy noise. And let's see what it came up with as it loads here. Okay, so master the art of interviewing. All right, so let's go ahead and open this up in a new tab so we can see it in a full screen here. All right, professional interview training. Master the art of interviewing. Practice scenario-based interview situations. Learn what questions are appropriate versus inappropriate and receive instant feedback to improve your interviewing skills. Real-time scoring, legal compliance training, multiple scenarios. So choose a scenario, select an interview scenario to practice your skills and learn appropriate questioning techniques. So we can do a software engineer interview, a marketing manager interview, sales director interview. So we have 3 scenarios, 15 practice questions, 100% legal compliance. All right. And we have beginner, intermediate, and advanced. So let's start with the beginner, a senior developer with 5+ years experience in React and Node.js. I assume that means JavaScript. See, I don't know anything about code. Let's do that. Okay. Can you walk me through your experience with React? Is this appropriate, inappropriate? I have no idea. But you can see we have the tracker up here. Let's say it's appropriate. Correct. This is an appropriate question as it directly relates to the job requirements and technical abilities. Okay, cool. Let's do next. Are you planning to have children in the next few years? Is that appropriate, inappropriate? It's inappropriate, but we'll get it wrong. We'll do appropriate. Obviously, that is incorrect. We'll continue forward. High-risk question. How do you handle tight deadlines and pressure? Appropriate, inappropriate? I don't know. Is that appropriate? That's appropriate. We get some feedback here. Now, you can see these questions are pretty simplistic. Now, this is a perfect example where it's created the interface, but I can go back in and edit this. One example of this is you can see here, what is your current salary? Is it appropriate, inappropriate, right? You can see, I think it's giving away the right answer here, so we can go in and edit that. Oh, no, it didn't. It just made one blue, one gray, so we can go back and edit that. Medium risk, inappropriate question. Let's get one more. Describe a challenging project you worked on and how you overcame obstacles. That sounds like it's an appropriate question. Good. All right, so interview complete, performance, summary, questions answered, accuracy rate 60%. I mean, it's tracking in all of this stuff. It gave me a score, and then I can try again, go back to scenarios, and it's created an interactive simulation. Now, this is where we can do some target editing here, right? So let's say I want to come in and edit this, right? And let's say this is appropriate, okay? Now, here's a good example where maybe I don't want this blue. Maybe I want them to be both the same. This is where I can do some really targeted editing here. So I can come in here and click edit, select edit, and I can come in here and choose a part I want to edit, right? So I'm going to choose this part here maybe, ask for quick changes, and I'm going to say, can you make both buttons the same color of gray? All right, let's see what it does. All right. It says I'll make both buttons the same color of gray by updating the button variants in the question card component. And there we go. It's updated it, loaded some scenario-based questions I've already designed or written. It can create these quick, interactive situations or scenarios that I could quickly deploy out to my learners. Now, I tried playing around with whether or not I could export this and turn it into a SCORM package, maybe something that you could upload and track in an LMS. I haven't been able to get that to figure out how to make that work yet, but I'm sure it's just a matter of prompting it properly. Now, I want to show some different examples of using the Lovable app. The first one I want to show is this one. This was one that I built with a team that I was doing a workshop for earlier this week, the Nebraska Department of Transportation, and they were talking about how they needed to create emotional intelligence training, right, for their road crews who go out and plow roads and do all of that stuff. And so instead of writing the prompt myself, one of the things that I did, and I do this all the time, is I actually used ChatGPT to help me write this prompt. So I came into ChatGPT and I said, hey, I'm using the Lovable Vibe coding app to create an emotional intelligence training for the Nebraska Department of Transportation. I can't spell today. Can you help me write a prompt for this, right? And it went ahead and helped me write a prompt, and I'll show you an example here. Creates the prompt, and you can go back and forth with ChatGPT. You could also do this directly within Lovable with the chat feature here, right? But I asked it to create a humorous training on emotional intelligence. So it said, I'll create this, and it gave some information into it. And this is what it came up with. It came up with this funny training, even generated these little icons of people. And so here's our Nebraska Department of Transportation emotional intelligence trainer, Earl Grumpiness Johnson, senior road crew, 20 years on the job, hasn't had his coffee yet. And you can see these little scenarios here, right? It's 5 a.m. and Earl hasn't had his coffee. The snowplow route starts in 15 minutes, but Earl is complaining loudly about the equipment assignment. The rest of the crew is watching to see how you handle this, right? So we have what he says here, and then we have our different responses here. And so I can get it right, get it wrong. It gives me a score. It gives me some feedback, and then I can continue my journey. Now we're dealing with Janet, the Hurricane Mills. She has an issue. We'll get it wrong here. And she has an emotional earthquake, right? Because we didn't respond properly, right? But you can create these, simple little funny branded, training scenarios or whatnot. Now, another really great example that I want to show you is this one here, because as I've been playing with Lovable, I've been thinking about, how can we use it to create interactive performance support, like on-demand performance support. And, I was thinking back to a previous job that I worked at where we had a lot of call center agents, right? And whenever we were training people, our new employees, on consultative sales, we never really trained them on product features. Instead, what we would do is we would train them on how to identify customer types. Like, how do you interact and probe with a question or with questions with the customer to figure out what type of customer they are, so that then you can match them to the right product, right? And instead of trying to teach them product facts, because products change, they come and go, what we had was an on-demand website that we called the cheat sheet, where they can come and reference and learn about the different products, the features, the benefits, how to overcome those objections, as a performance support tool that they could quickly reference. So in this example, this was actually one that one of my students from my cohort program, Julie Lorton, she actually created this for an interview assignment that she got the job with. And it was on construction sales training, and it was about how to align the different customers to different credit accounts. And so she created this simple training platform, if you will, to learn about construction sales training. So master customer identification and credit account recommendations for construction suppliers, interactive learning module designed for sales professionals, right? So we can see down here, we can start the learning. We have some different tabs here to learn about different customer types, subcontractors, resellers, different types of credit accounts. And then we can go in and practice and do these different scenarios, right? So if I start the learning, I have to go learn the different customer types. So we have some information here, right? All these different little tabbed interactions. Then we can learn about the credit accounts. So we have a 30-day account, who they're ideal for, example use case, project-based account, so forth and so on. And then we can come in and practice, right? So the hardware store owner. Sarah owns a local hardware store and is looking to expand her inventory of power tools and building supplies. What type of customer is she, right? So maybe she's a general contractor. I got it wrong, right? But we can keep going here and answer these different questions and go through this learning. So you can create, performance support tools, learning experiences, all of that great stuff. Now, one more example I want to show you that I think is really cool is, all right, so if we can vibe code time trackers, if we can vibe code interactive learning experiences, why couldn't we vibe code a whole portfolio website, right? So one of the things that I've been playing with is that you can actually attach images here and use them to give inspiration to Lovable on the thing that you want to build, right? So stick with me here. So a while back, I shared a post and video here, and I'll link to this down below, about how to use Google Sites to create a portfolio. And I created this sample portfolio for Sarah James here, right? So what would happen if I took a screenshot of this, right? This homepage, and I gave it to Lovable and said, hey, I want to create a portfolio website based off of this. Let's see what it comes up with, all right? So I want to build a portfolio website for my instructional design work. Using the attached image, help me create a multi-page website with a home page, about me page, and a portfolio page for my work, right? So I'll go ahead and attach the image here. Here's the screenshot. We'll open that up. It's going to attach here, and then we'll send it off to Lovable, and let's see what it comes up with. So it's thinking. All right, I'll create a beautiful portfolio website for your instructional design work inspired by that golden educational aesthetic. I mean, so you can see it's clearly extracting something from the image. And let me build a multi-page site with a stunning design system. All right, so that took maybe about 3 minutes to generate and build out. So let's see what it came up with here. We'll give it a moment to load here. And here we have our Sarah James portfolio website. So I'm going to go ahead and open this in a new tab so we can see the full version of it. And, if we compare it back to the completed version here, I mean, it didn't recreate it exactly, but at least gave us something that we can start with, right? So we can say, hi, I'm Sarah James. I design learning experiences that people love, forming complex concepts into engaging, accessible learning, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What do I bring to your learning projects? Curriculum design, interactive experiences, learning analytics, ready to transform your learning programs. I mean, it created a whole website. I could have it replace this image here and upload an image of Sarah James. We have an About Me page here with some content and a portfolio page, right? I mean, this is crazy. I can come in here and view the details. I'd have to add that in here. Those aren't in here right now. So let's see if we can have it replace the image here. So let me actually grab Sarah James's image here. I'm going to save this to my desktop here. This is just a sample portfolio that I created on how to create one in Google Sites. So let's go in here and let's do a target edit here. And let's do this image. Can you replace the image with, can I upload it here? Edit styles, edit spacing. I upload. Let's see what it does here. There we go. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? There we go. There's the updated one. So you could build this, you could use this to build your entire portfolio, which just absolutely blows my mind. So that's just an overview of some of the really cool stuff that you can do in Lovable. All right, so that is a look at some of the different ways I've been playing with Lovable to vibe code learning experiences, building interactions, and all of that really great stuff. And you know what I want you to remember is that the skill set of this really has nothing to do with coding. I still don't know a thing about writing code, and I promise I probably never will. And that's okay. But you know what? The true skill set of this and your ability to use a tool like Lovable is really just limited by your imagination. If you can imagine it, then you could describe it. And if you can describe it, then you can vibe code it. So here's what I want to challenge you to do. Go sign up for a free account with Lovable or any other vibe coding app and give it a try. Create a learning experience, whether it's a simple tabbed interaction or a branching scenario, and let me know down in the comments what you create. All right, That's all for today. Now, if you haven't done so already, please make sure to hit that like, subscribe, and bell button to get alerted the next time I publish a video just like this one. And of course, join me inside the eLearning Designers Academy and our free community at elearningacademy.io or with the link down in the description, where we help new instructional designers and e-learning developers grow their careers by focusing on skills first. Otherwise, my name is Tim Slade, and until next time, I'll see you around.